Hey guys. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Star Citizen's monetization. Right now, in fact, there's a free flight event going on, and you have an opportunity to check out 8 ships that are part of the ship showdown. The Then you can try them out for free. So if you want to hop into the game, the full code will be below the video in the video description, and that essentially just gives you 5,000 extra credits when you sign up. But you don't have to sign up until the 15th because the game is completely free to play until the 15th. But that kind of brought up the idea of talking about Star Citizen's monetization in this video because for a really long time I feel like the game has had a really bad reputation with how it's monetized. Um, the online publication Massively OP has rated Star Citizen the worst game for monetization currently in development. And for currently in development games, maybe, perhaps, but for release games, absolutely not, no way. So I kind of wanted to talk about that in this video because also we've seen a lot of updates from games like Diablo Immortal and other quote unquote gotcha games, essentially games that are coming from the East, that the MMOs, and they have very heavy monetization mechanics in terms of things like loot boxes and store items, skins, cosmetics, that sort of thing. So I wanted to talk about that in this video, kind of compare those games to Star Citizen, and try to see how bad really is Star Citizen compared to a lot of these other games. And after I did, just a little bit of researching, to me, in my personal opinion, it doesn't seem like that bad of a game. I think personally, Star Citizen could be considered good for the gaming industry. A game like Star Citizen, raising as much money as it has, I think that's a good thing. So right here I have my fleet, and full disclosure, before we get into this video, I kind of wanted to go over how much money I have invested in the game. So I have a Banu Merchantman, I have an Odyssey, and I have a Hull C. I have the Hull C for its original concept price, and I have purchased the Banu Merchantman for $500. And of course, I picked up the Odyssey at its original concept price. So, you could do the math. I'm at least over $1,000 in the game, for sure. And I don't want to pull up my account or anything in the video, but again, you can do the math. I'm in the hole for over a grand. And I'm not rare. There are many players who have, in my opinion, that amount into the game. I supported the game since 2014, so I've basically played the store game, and the store game is essentially where you buy things on the store, you melt them for store credits, and then you could use those store credits towards other ships. So I started with the Aurora, and then I slowly upgraded over the years, and then I melted what I upgraded, and that brought me to where I am now. But basically, I believe this Banu Merchantman started off as a 300i, and this Odyssey started off as a Dragonfly, and the C2, the Hull C started off as a The Hull C started. What did this Hull C start off as? I want to say it started off as a constellation, because the first two ships I got was an Aurora and a constellation. So let's just jump right into the video now. Basically, there are several monetization mechanics that I feel like are the most egregious in the gaming industry right now, and that is gotcha mechanics, price obfuscation, loot boxes, battle passes, and subscription fees. I know there are a lot of people who would defend subscription fees, but in my opinion, I'm over 30 years old, kind of an old school gamer. In my opinion, box price is just better. You know, there's nothing, in my opinion, worth arguing for a subscription fee if the developer is willing to sell the game for a box price. In a lot of cases, if a game is a live service game, it needs a lot of continuous influx of money to continue developing the game and continually releasing content. But if you have a store and you're selling cosmetics, there's no reason why you can't make that your main monetization. If you have a store and you're selling cosmetics and you have a subscription, in my opinion, there's no defending that. And most games that have a subscription price also sell items in a cosmetic shop. So the temptation for these companies to just do more in terms of monetization is too great to defend a subscription business model as a player. Okay, if they sold the game for box price, then adding a cosmetic shop, I'd have no reason to be mad at that. But if you are selling your game for a subscription fee, you can't have a battle pass, you can't have loot boxes, you can't have a cosmetic shop, because your monetization strategy is selling the game for a subscription. So if you and I think I'll start with the subscription model for a second. Okay, if you want to play WoW, and we'll use a World of Warcraft as an example, if you want to play WoW for 6 months, a 6-month subscription to WoW is $77.94. Okay, it's $78 to play WoW for 6 months, and sometimes in some subscription model games you pay for what you play. So if you pay for a month of game time, you essentially don't pay for that if you don't play it or whatnot. But World of Warcraft is not like that. You can play for essentially 1 day, and if you forget to cancel your subscription, you're paying for it, you know. But for $78, okay, you could get several ships in Star Citizen, and you own the game. Game's yours forever. The ship is yours, you know. You buy a Mustang, you buy a Mustang's a ship in Star Citizen. You buy a couple of Aurors, you buy the Pisces. There are a lot of ships that are under $70 that you can buy as a starter package. And you know, for $77, you know, Star Citizen for $65, you get starter ship, you get 3 months insurance, you get a hangar, which is a persistent location in the game that you'll always be able to go back to. That's yours. Okay. And for $65, you could add Squadron 42 on there. So for $65, you're getting 2 games, you're getting a ship, you're getting insurance, you're getting a hangar. If you only play it for 1 day, it's a better value than WoW. If you get the 6 month subscription for WoW and you only play it one day, it's a worse value than Star Citizen. WoW is $15 a month, and if you get WoW at $15 a month, and you forget to cancel your subscription and you only play for one day, if you keep that subscription for 3 years, you spend almost $1,000. It's a lot of money. I mean, I'm exaggerating here. I have no idea how much money it actually is if you do it for 3 years. But the value proposition that they're offering is that, okay, if you buy WoW for 3 months or 6 months or a year, we'll take off some of that price. It'll be like $12.99 a month or something like that. But it's in my opinion, it's not a good deal, because WoW has a cash shop where you can go and you can buy cosmetics, you can buy mounts, you can buy armor. They sell all that stuff in the store, and the thing is, with their store, that stuff is store items. You cannot also get them in game like Star Citizen. Okay, but I'll talk a little bit about that more later in the video. Now, the next most egregious thing that I think games do to monetize games is the battle pass. Obviously, it's essentially where the developer adds additional content in a tiered system that's paywalled. Okay, yeah, there's no other way to describe it. It's just paywall content broken down into a tiered system. Okay, so there are some free perks. Some games offer like a free track in their battle pass system. It's unnecessary, in my personal opinion. It's unnecessary. If you want to give up rewards, if you want to do daily achievements and all this stuff, so people feel like they're going somewhere in the game, just make it so. Just say, okay, if you want this cosmetic item, buy it in the store. If you want these rewards, play the game to earn these achievements. The battle pass system is just kind of like a way for them to be like, okay, buy this battle pass and you'll get X, Y, and Z drops or whatever. Pointless, totally pointless. It's just a way for the devs to get more money, in my personal opinion. And the next thing is loot boxes. Now, right now, there's a lot of drama around loot boxes, and essentially a lot of people in the gaming community are questioning if they should even be legal, because they are basically gambling. You are essentially putting money down and you're rolling a dice to see if you get something valuable. Okay, now in certain depending on how the language is, depending on how the government sees loot boxes, it's kind of a gray area. Okay, because if these items have no monetary value, or if you can't profit from these items, it's kind of like an arcade, right? You buy tickets, you play the game, you could win an item. Okay, and even in that case, you win an item, you can sell it. So some arcades, if you look at them that way, could be considered gambling, but they're not. So that's why loot boxes exist in kind of a gray area right now, but it is essentially gambling for the uninitiated. It's a system where you essentially buy a pack of random stuff in the off chance that you get something good. But a lot of times what these games do is that they build in the mechanics of the game into these loot boxes. So essentially, you might need a certain drop to get somewhere in the game, but the only way to get this item is by buying several loot boxes. And a good example of that is, of course, Diablo Immortal, where there are certain gems in the game that you can only get by buying loot boxes and getting these rare drops. And there's no excuse for that. There's no defending a monetization strategy like that. That is extremely anti-consumer and extremely toxic and bad for the gaming industry. Okay, the next very common thing that games do these days is price obfuscation, and that's essentially when a developer sells a second currency that's used to buy the things in the store. Okay, so example of that would be like, you know, selling skins, and the skin is like 500 coins, but you have to buy, but it's $20 for 700 coins. So if you want two skins, you have to buy 1400 coins, but then at that point you have 400 extra coins that you don't need, so you end up having to buy another pack of 1400 coins. It's basically, so if you want two skins, essentially instead of just paying $20, you end up paying $40, but you can't get you can't get the value of the item for the value of the coins, because they sell an uneven amount of coins, and they do that on purpose, so you have to just continually buying more coins or whatever. And so instead of just saying, okay, this skin is $5, here you go, this is the price, end of conversation, you have to jump through all of these hoops, and it's basically just their way to get more money, to get just that little bit more, amount of money. And in my opinion, again, there's no defending that. As a player, if you sit there and you look at what these game companies are doing with price obfuscation and coins and all this stuff, there's no reason to say, yes, this is good for the gaming. It's not. Plain and simple. There's no arguing that. You can't sit here and say that, yeah, for the player that might be okay. No, it's not. It's not good for the player. It's just good for these companies. So the last monetization mechanic that I think is very toxic in the gaming industry is gacha. It's essentially where a developer will create a problematic gameplay system or mechanic, and they'll sell the solution, or introduce you to the game at very little to no barrier, and then say, okay, now you're interested in the game, now you hit level 30 or whatever, now you have to pay. It's like, oh, you've had fun playing this game, give us $60. So Star Citizen doesn't really have that, and you might argue being able to buy a ship that is locked behind a specific gameplay basically says, okay, this is, like a prospector, this is the entry level, buy this. But then you're gonna want more. You're gonna want a mole. You're gonna want, you're gonna want the best ship in the game. But in my opinion, there's no gacha there. There's no gacha in Star Citizen. For CIG or Cloud Imperium Games to add gacha, it would have to be something like where they would say, okay, the Stanton system is free. Star Citizen is free to play, but you can only play in Stanton, and to travel through the jump points to other star systems, then you have to pay. That would be considered gacha. Okay, but Star Citizen is not like that. We have Stanton, we're gonna get Pyro, $45, that's it. Okay, so Star Citizen is not gacha. Gacha is terrible. I don't support it. In my opinion, there's no arguing for it. I mean, some people may argue that gacha games have a very low barrier to entry, so they have a lot of players, and the more players you have, the more fun you can have, especially in an online game, an MMO, a live service game. So live service games being free to play or gacha is acceptable for some players because it encourages more people to get into game, and more people who are into the game is the more people that the people who have paid for the game can interact with. So if you paid $70 for a game, you don't want to run around on a server that has 50 people who played $70 for the game. It's more fun to run around on a server that has 1,000 people and only 70 paid for the game. So in that way, I could see someone arguing for gacha, but at the end of the day, it's just a toxic mechanic. If you make your game free to play and you have a cash shop, that's all you need. At that point, just get rid of the price cap and let everyone play for free, and then have a cosmetic shop. I'm not against having a cosmetic shop. My only problem is when these developers add more monetization levels on top of that. If you're gonna have a cash shop, have a cash shop and that's it. Or have a box price and that's it. If you have a subscription, a cash shop, a battle pass, loot boxes, price obfuscation, a secondary currency, it's too much. that is too much. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Star Citizen's monetization strategy. Okay, and we're just going to start right off the top. Box price. Okay, in 2022, a game as ambitious as Star Citizen, online live MMO, 100 players a server, one system, giant gameplay maps, tons of different jobs you could do: salvage, cargo, trading, combat. Box price, $45. Take it or leave it. Okay. In my opinion, as an old school gamer, I can't argue with that. You tell me that you can spend $15,000 on this game, who cares? You know, the game is $45. If someone tells me, hey, okay, this amazing sports car is 10 grand, but if you add rims and you add leather seats and you add a sunroof, it's 100 grand. I'm buying the 10 grand version. You know, car's 10 grand. All this other stuff doesn't matter. Okay, if I want to add that down the line, I can add rims later. I can wrap the car a different color later. I can reupholster the seats later. But to be able to get into that sports car for 10 grand, that's the price of the sports car. The sports car is 10 grand. All this other stuff, that's just for people who want that. You're just offering those options for somebody who wants that, but the car is 10 grand. Star Citizen is $45. Okay. So the next thing is that people like to talk about is concept ships. And selling concept ships has kind of been, a issue for CIG and Star Citizen, because a lot of the sales that happen on the website are considered pledges to support the game, because the game is crowdfunded and still in development. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, they have delivered a product. And even if you buy a concept ship, it's not like you're what a lot of people call it is, they say you're buying a JPEG, but that's not actually the case, because you get a loaner ship for the ship that you bought. This is my fleet right here. None of these ships are in game right now, but I can still play the game because I can fly loaner ships. And the Banu Merchantman, for instance, has a C2 and a Banu Defender. Combined, both of those ships cost more than what I paid for the Merchantman. So even though I don't have the Merchantman right now, and I have to wait until it's released, I will get the Merchantman. Okay, I can still play the game with the Crusader Industries C2 Hercules Starlifter, the Banu Defender, which is a great fighter, great medium fighter. Same thing with the Odyssey. I bought the Odyssey, and they gave me a Carrack. Okay, the primary competition for the ship is the Carrack, and it's a great exploration ship. And while I wait until the Odyssey comes out, I'm just flying around in a Carrack. I can't argue with that. I mean, who doesn't like the Carrack? So, if you bought this ship, it's a little bit more expensive than the Carrack, which is fine, because again, I will eventually get the Odyssey, and until I do, I have the Carrack to fly around in. And that's the part that they never talk about. That's the part that they never advertise. Whenever they talk about Star Citizen selling ships and they're just JPEGs, well, that's not actually the case. You get a ship for equal or greater value in the meantime while you're waiting for these ships to come out. So my entire fleet is concept ships, but I'm still playing the game. I'm still flying around in great ships. So I have no problem waiting for these specific ships to come out. The next thing that Star Citizen does that I personally think is great is the whole store credit system. In Star Citizen, you can essentially return whatever you buy in the store for store credit, basically for what you paid. So that's basically how I got to buy a lot of these ships. Is I bought a ship, and then I either upgraded it or melted it and used that store credit towards another ship. Okay, in a lot of games you could ask for a refund, but that's just kind of like, there's a lot of hoops you gotta jump through, and so it's a whole big deal. But in Star Citizen, it's easy. It's 2 clicks. You just go and you say you want to return this item. Instantly you get the store credit, and then you could immediately use it on whatever you want in the shop. And on top of that, they have a buyback system that allows you to use store credit to buy back previously purchased items. There's a complete list on my account of everything that I've bought and then exchanged for store credit. And I have 2 opportunities right now to get anything I want from that list with store credit, and or with real money. So in my opinion, the store credit meta, as some people want to call it, is incredibly advantageous to the consumer, because there's less of an incentive to buy things with new money. For instance, if a gaming company releases a new gun, you just have to buy it. Me, on the other hand, I can say, okay, I don't like this armor set that I bought. I don't want that anymore. I can exchange that and buy the new armor set with the money from the old armor set. Meanwhile, in another game, if you bought an old armor set, you just have that forever now. And if you want the new armor set, you have to pay new money for it. So it's like, in most games, you really have to think about your purchases. Do you want this? Will you use it? Why are you buying it? In Star Citizen, I can literally buy whatever I want. If I don't want it anymore, I'll just melt it and buy something new. There's no pressure, there's no stress. It's, in my opinion, it's good for the consumer. There's no reason why CIG would do that. And to make it that easy for the backers to move their money around in the ecosystem, it's just good for the backers. I mean, CIG does not profit by making everything in the store purchasable with store credit. So they had to release a new system called War Bond, which is essentially when you buy something on War Bond, it's with new money and not store credit. And usually War Bond items are a little bit cheaper. But who cares if you're using store credit, it paying a little bit more doesn't matter. And for a lot of people who want the war bond, a lot of times they get lifetime insurance or just a little extra incentive. But at the end of the day, the option to buy that same brand new ship with store credit is still there for those individuals who want it. And in my opinion, that's good for the backers and it's good for the consumers. And CIG having the option to sell ships at war bond is good for them so they can get new money. In that system, in my opinion, both people win. It's fair, and if you want to argue against it, doesn't make any sense, because they're empowering you to do what you want to on the platform. Okay, so the next thing is CCU chaining, or cross chassis upgrade. This is essentially when you upgrade your ship at its current value and then you pay the difference. Okay, you can't upgrade a ship that's the same value basically, but you can use an existing ship to get a new ship. And in a lot of cases, if the ship that you're using was gifted to you, or something like of a full code bonus, like if you have somebody use your full code, sometimes you might get a free ship like the Dragonfly. Dragonfly is worth $45. If you want to get a 100i, that's $60. You will essentially getting that 100i for only $20. No, $15 because the Dragonfly is 45. So for $15, you just got a 100i instead of having to pay $60. So that's how a lot of people save a ton of money getting ships on the store by upgrading from ships that they got gifted or ships that they got for free using referrals. And you can get very expensive ships by doing this. So there's, in my opinion, there's no reason that CIG needs to do that. It doesn't really benefit them at all. The only person that it benefits is the players, and it encourages the players to spend more time on the platform. It encourages the players to spend money in ways that is good for them essentially. And again, if you want to pay full price for something, that option is there. But the fact that CIG gives you the options to move your money around on the platform in all of these different ways, it benefits the consumer, in my opinion. It's good. Of course, it benefits them a little bit because it kind of encourages you to do upgrades that way. But I mean, if you were never going to buy the ship at all, that's one thing. But if you want the ship, you would have spent real money on it. So in this situation, you're just getting the ship for a cheaper price. So that's good for the consumer. Like, I'm not going to go out here and buy a 100i for $60, and I'm not going to go out here and buy a 100i with store credit, or because I don't want a 100i. But if I did want a 100i, I have several options to getting that ship. I don't just have to go to the store and use new money. I could use store credit, I can CCU chain. There are options for me to get this ship without just dropping $60. Okay, and so the next thing I want to talk about is FOMO. A lot of people that talk about Star Citizen's egregious monetization systems, they bring up FOMO because CIG doesn't always sell the same ships at the same time. But in my opinion, it's just kind of a lack of self-control, in my opinion, from a consumer standpoint, because these ships aren't so rare that you have no opportunity to ever get them again. CIG has funding rounds, or essentially times during the year, where they will sell everything, like IAE. And you have more opportunities to buy these same ships during Ship Showdown, which is going on right now in the Free Fly event. You have an opportunity to get military ships during Fleet Week. You have an opportunity to get alien ships during Alien Week. There are several opportunities where you can get the ship you want if you wait a little bit. I know there's a lot of people who buy ships on the gray market, secondhand market. Sometimes they end up paying more. Sometimes they end up, getting fleeced. It's unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. A lot of times they have sales where you can sometimes get this stuff cheaper. During this most recent event where they had a lot of new people come on. I forget what it's called, but they offered skins to tour guides essentially, and they offered skins to new players, and you could get a starter package at a discounted price, and it came with a skin. So, in my opinion, if you just wait a little bit, join the community, look out for deals, look out for the calendar when things are happening. So when you know when Fleet Week is, that way you know when IAE is, and you can get the ships that you want. Okay. But if you're interested in getting the game, get into the game for like $45. If you like it and you want to spend more money on the game, just wait for the ship you want. A lot of times concept ships are also limited is because the ship is not in game. It's not available yet. So making a concept ship always available is, in my opinion, kind of sketchy. So I think making concept ships limited, basically when when the concept is released, you can buy it. But then after that, the next patch is not available to buy anymore until it's released. And in my opinion, that's honest. If CIG made a concept ship like the Odyssey perpetually available, that would be kind of sketchy in my opinion, because you can't play the ship in game. The ship is not in game. You have to use a loaner. So in my opinion, it's more on to say, hey, this is the ship that we're concepting. We're going to give you an opportunity to buy it at a discounted rate early. That's fine. It's kind of like a pre-order, in my opinion. Buying concept ships, in my opinion, is kind of like a pre-order. And so I don't really see it as fear of missing out, because again, not only are these ships going to be available again, but you can also get them in game. I mean, the Saber Raven is one of the rare ships in game because it was part of a deal with Intel. So in my opinion, that doesn't really count. It's not really a limited time sale. It's just a limited quantity sale because they had an agreement with Intel to only sell a certain amount. And I mean, that's not CIG being sketchy. It's just a promotional deal. And as a company that is a business, they have to do promotional stuff once in a while. So in my opinion, there's a little bit of FOMO, but again, it all comes down to your own personal self-control. So I feel like in any circumstance, everything could be fear of missing out. You don't go to a concert, you don't go to this graduation, you skip prom, all this stuff. It all comes down to what you want. If you want to go to prom, you want to go to the concert, do that. If you don't worry about it. It all comes down to you. It's not the company saying that this thing is limited. I mean, in real life, physical items are hard to make. There's logistics involved, there's human labor, there's parts, prices. And so for that reason, you can't make infinity of something, basically. There's limited resources on Earth. again. So at the end of the day, you have to put a limit on how much of this thing you're making. When it comes to digital content, on the other hand, you could copy that thing a million times. But in my personal opinion, that gets to the level of consumer fatigue. Essentially, if something is just too available, it becomes unattractive to consumers. And it's the same thing with Apple and their MacBooks and their iPhones. They're expensive. And so people put an exclusive connotation to that. Where, okay, not everyone can afford this thing. So it is exclusive and is desirable, and more people want it. And it's just like you make a car, $1 million car, you know, Porsche, Ferrari, whatever you want to call it, $1 million car, only make 500, sold out before they even debut the car. It's sold out. You go and you watch the video of them revealing the car. The reporters are there like every car is sold out. You can't buy this car right now. That's just what people like. People like, people like having something that has value because other people can't have it, or because it's difficult to get. In my opinion, it's not strictly anti-consumer, because it's a consumer mentality. In a free market economy, businesses do this because they essentially need to balance the balance sheet. They need to keep customers interested. And so if you're CIG and you're saying, I'm gonna release every ship every day, every year, people will trickle in and buy things. Or if you say, okay, here's an opportunity, like I would compare it to Black Friday a little bit. You go and you look at Black Friday sales or Amazon Prime Day, and when you really look at some of that stuff, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't actually that cheap. It's almost like they kind of mocked it up a little bit, and then during the sale they said, okay, it's like $10 less actually, but it's actually not. It should have been the price that's currently being sold at is the price that it should be, not the price that they're saying they marked down. So I mean, if you're going to say CIG is, a bunch of thieves because they capitalize on FOMO, it's like, and I don't want to use the excuse, oh, everybody does it, so it's okay. It's not, but it's not the worst thing you can do. Of course, Star Citizen, they have a cosmetic shop. You can buy skins and all that. Again, if you have a box price, it's something that I'm going to forgive a little bit, because their cosmetic shop, all that stuff can be earned in game. If I wanted to get any of the subscriber items, I could just go and I could just loot in game. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Star Citizen Whales. This video is super long right now, so I'm looking at the time right now. I want to kind of cut it down. This is a podcast, a weekly podcast. I'm trying to stay more regular, but I don't want to post hour-long videos for you guys, because then you'll say this guy's talking forever, get me out of here. But I want to show you a clip from this video I saw the other day that I was just like, what? Okay, it's just this video here published by 100 Thieves, and it's a podcast, and they were talking about their spending habits in game.
Really good at what they do for those skins.
I have a bad habit of buying skins on alts.
Listen to this.
Oh, I've done it too. I've done it too.
I think I've spent $8,000.
Oh my god.
Huh? You know what I mean? $8,000. Okay, let's keep going.
Tax write-off on your alt.
True.
On your alt. On your alt?
No, not just. I'm saying overall.
Oh, overall.
But still,
Did you
that's a
check?
lot.
They had like a thing you could
Yeah.
Wait,
check.
I
you
think
can,
I
like,
spent
I've
a
spent
similar amount.
I spent over $4,000 on just Valorant.
I think I spent like over
not proud.
$5,000 on just.
On Valorant. Okay, listen to what she just said there. She spent $4,000 on just Valorant. Okay, if you know anything about that game, it's a FPS shooter. It's very arcade-like, kind of cartoony. There are no complicated mechanics. It is not an MMO. You just jump in and you shoot. She's saying she spent $4,000 on that game. Okay, let's keep going.
Just my main, and then I have like 4 alt accounts that I've spent money on.
Yeah, it's
I'm at 1.8k. I thought I was bad.
Listen,
No,
that,
no.
I mean, it still doesn't compare to my Genshin Impact spending, so like that's fine.
I mean,
But you guys are degenerates. I'm like
I am
really
a
stingy.
you know how bad.
so, of course, you know, you have this situation here. I don't know if you can see that. Diablo Immortal player, $35,000 in debt to Blizzard. So, the way I look at it, Star Citizen whales, or people who spend a lot of money in Star Citizen, the reality is, people are spending money on video games, and they are considering it their entertainment budget. The people like me who you know, over 30, have been playing games his whole life. I'm used to just spending $40 on a video game and calling it a day. So the idea, and you know, even though I've spent, you know, over $1,500 on Star Citizen, people talking about spending $4,000 and $8,000 on games by publicly traded companies, and you know, that's something that I didn't even talk about in this video. The idea that Star Citizen is a privately owned company. Okay, so the more money CIG makes, the more money they are incentivized to spend on the project. That way they just avoid paying crazy amounts of tax. But for a publicly traded company, they can distribute those profits to their shareholders through dividends and pay almost no tax. So there's a greater incentives for a publicly traded company to make more money. For more incentives for a publicly traded company to be more aggressive with their monetization. Okay, CIG wants to make money so they can keep developing the game, but it's obvious they don't want to make $1 billion right now because they have to spend that money somehow or go public. So in my opinion, you're kind of more guaranteed that the more money you spend in Star Citizen, the more money is going to go to the game. Okay, with a publicly traded company, that money is not going to the game. You look like we just talked about WoW. If you look at WoW, WoW is not Star Citizen. Visually, it is a very old looking game, and they are still charging $15 a month for that game. They should reduce the price of that game. At its age, with its content, broken systems, I don't know how people justify paying $15 a month for that. The value there is not good. If you compare it to free-to-play games that look 1,000 times better, you know, with Star Citizen, paying $45 goes to the devs. It goes to developing the game, and you can see that system working. Now CIG has raised almost $500 million. I think they're at $500 million right now, and they are using that money. They've raised $500 million, but they've spent probably $400 million so far making the game. So the money they make is the money they're spending. Of course, a lot of that goes to salaries, server times, the new studios that they're building, but that all of that stuff paying salaries, hiring new people, building out studios. That is how the game gets made. The last thing I want to touch on is the bait and switch conversation. And to be perfectly honest with you, I should have just broken this down into multiple videos because this video is just way too long right now. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and I might make separate videos after this video talking more about monetization. But last thing I want to touch on is Squadron 42. And a lot of people, even people in the community, are angry that CIG is using the money that they're making from Star Citizen to also make Squadron 42. In my opinion, that's no different from any other game studio. If you are paying for a WoW subscription, that money is going to Activision Blizzard. That money is not going to continually update WoW. You know, so saying CIG is using Star Citizen money to make Squadron 42, it makes no sense. The money that they get from you buying stuff goes to CIG so they can give you CIG made products. Okay, so I'm CIG, you give me $20. Anything I give you is a product of that money. Okay, every studio, Bethesda, DICE, you give that company money, they're using that money to make whatever they want. They're not using that money on the game you bought. So targeting CIG as like, oh, this is a bait and switch, this is the only, no. Every studio works like that. You are giving money to the studio, and it's different because Star Citizen is a crowdfunded game. But you're not really just crowdfunding Star Citizen, okay? You're crowdfunding the game universe. So the whole story behind Star Citizen is encapsulated in this universe, in this franchise. So essentially, you are crowdfunding this franchise. It's not like CIG is going to turn around and make some kind of sports game. You know, they're going to make a video game centered in the Star Citizen universe. You are crowdfunding this franchise. Squadron 42 is going to get more games. Star Citizen is going to get more content. Theaters of War, Arena Commander. You're giving CIG money so that they can complete the franchise. And that's kind of the way I saw it in the beginning, even from the Kickstarter days. When you bring together a persistent universe and a single player game, this was what the whole lawsuit was about, with CryEngine. CryEngine said you're getting one license, okay, a license to create this space sim. Now you're talking about the single player component. We don't like that, we're gonna sue you. And at the end of the day, if you're making one franchise, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, that's totally acceptable. Okay, if CIG used that money and then went out and developed a Jurassic Park game or a roller coaster game, or then I would have a problem, because I'm like, now you're just trying to make money on some other franchise. That doesn't make sense. I want to be immersed in this game universe, in this game world. And so CIG using that money to finish Squadron 42 is just an advantage. On top of that, when they finish Squadron 42 and Squadron 42 is released, the money from Squadron 42 is gonna go into the persistent universe. And that's the thing, these two games share an ecosystem. Okay, so the faster they finish Squadron 42, people can buy Squadron 42 and play it, and the money from Squadron 42 can go back in the persistent universe, and maybe the money from the persistent universe will go into making Squadron 42's second game. That's how it works. You're giving the company money to make a game in the Star Citizen universe, in that franchise. So in my opinion, it's acceptable. Again, That's just my opinion. You could disagree with it. You can still think it's egregious, and I have no problem with that. I mean, I understand why someone would have a problem with it, but in my opinion, it's justifiable. It's justifiable because you are paying the ecosystem. You are giving CIG money to make a game in this universe, and in my opinion, that's good enough. Okay, again, this video was super long. Longest video I've ever made, honestly. But if you guys like this content, you want to see more content like it, be sure to like and subscribe, help feed the YouTube algorithm. Also leave a comment down below. I'm going to try to be more regular. I'm going to try to update every single week, give you guys videos like this, commentary videos, gameplay videos. I have gameplay videos on my channel. I have more commentary videos like this on my channel. I want to try to be consistent for you guys. I want to try to increase the quality, you know, react videos. Leave suggestions. Let me know what kind of content you guys want to see, and I'll try to bring that up for you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys next time. You know, my usual outro. Salute.